Yes, my people. When we tell these judges, say their statement and their judgment is a working law, and say whether you like it or not, any judgment that they give today go get consequences and implications. See wetin dey happen for Abuja right now. The residents of Abuja don take the judgment of the tribunal, say Abuja is like every other state. Hear wetin dey happen. Just hear wetin dem dey do. Hear the things wey dem don carry, the lawsuit wey dem don compile against the federal government on top this same matter. What did you make sure that very important?
Tribunal judgments. Abuja indigents head to court to demand governor, 3 senators, reps, state assembly. The original inhabitants of the Federal Capital Territory, FCT, are preparing to take legal action to request that the federal government of Nigeria and the National Assembly allow them to elect their governor, 3 senators, and House of Representative members and State House of Assembly representatives. This decision comes in response to the recent judgment by the Presidential Petition Tribunal Court, which asserted that Abuja holds no special status compared to other states. Daniel Bwala, the former spokesman of Atiku Abubakar's presidential campaign organization, announced this move on his verified X account, formerly known as Twitter, citing the tribunal's ruling that places Abuja on equal footing with other states. He wrote, following the Presidential Election Petition Court's judgment, which states to the effect that Abuja is just like any other state, I am hearing that the natives of Abuja are approaching the court for an order mandating federal government to let them produce their governor and 3 senators, amongst other peculiarities of a state. What is good for Guinea is also good for Uganda. Recall that the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal ruled that the Federal Capital Territory FCT does not enjoy any special status compared to the other 36 states of the Federation concerning the mandatory 25% vote requirement in the presidential election conducted on 25th February 2023. The court's ruling issued on Wednesday emphasizes that the FCT holds no superiority over any state in this regard. The tribunal said the Labour Party's interpretation of Section 134, subsection 2B of the Constitution is completely fallacious and, if not outrightly ridiculous. Section 134, subsection 1 and 2 of the 1999 Constitution of Nigeria, as amended, mandates that in a presidential election involving multiple candidates, the winning candidate must secure a majority of the total vote cast and obtain at least 25% of votes in at least 2/3 of the 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory FCT to be declared the duly elected president of Nigeria.
Okay, so this argument pushed me to go and check the Nigerian Constitution. I checked to see where the judiciary, the judges of the tribunal, drew the statement that Abuja is like every other state. And then I also checked where that section 134 is saying. Now listen to what section 299, where the judges drew their statement, come from. I think, I'm not a lawyer, what I'm saying is just like me trying to understand more. So I can be wrong, you can correct me, I can be wrong actually. So this is what the section 299 said. It said, the provisions of this constitution shall apply to the Federal Capital Territory. Let me take it again. The provisions of this constitution shall apply to the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, as if it were one of the states of the Federation. And accordingly, A, all the legislative powers, the executive powers, and the judicial powers vested in the House of Assembly, the governor of a state, and in the court of a state shall respectively vest in the National Assembly, the President of the Federation, and in the courts which, by virtue of the foregoing provisions, are courts established for the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. Now, they said for you to understand the Constitution, you don't read just a subsection. You read all the sections of that Constitution so that you understand what he's talking about. Then in B, it said, all the powers referred in paragraph A of this section shall be exercised in accordance with the provisions of this Constitution, and The provisions of this constitution pertaining to the matter aforesaid shall be read with such modifications and adaptations as may be reasonably necessary to bring them into conformity with the provisions of this section. Let me now explain. When you come to the constitution, for you to understand what he's talking about, you have to read it so that you know what he's talking about. Here now, I think here, this section 299 is talking about institutional powers. The power of the state governor, the power of the assembly of the state, and the power of the court of the states, that all of them rests on the federal. Therefore, the powers in all the institutions also established in the Federal Capital Territory rests on the federal. When I say federal, I mean the National Assembly, the federal government, which is the president, and then the courts. So, all of them rest on the federal. So, therefore, Abuja, in this case, should be treated like every other state, which means Federal High Court Abuja should not be different from Federal High Court Lagos. All of them should act the same, so that Federal High Court Abuja will not be superior to Federal High Court Lagos. So all of them should rest upon the federal, the executive, the legislature, and the courts, the judiciary. Okay. Now, I think that's what the Constitution 299 is talking about when it said Abuja should be like every other state. Now, let's go to Section 134. Now, Section 134 says a candidate for an election to the office of the president shall be deemed to have been duly elected where there been only 2 candidates for the election. Now, you now say, okay, subsection 1A says he has the majority of votes cast at the election, and see where this confusion is coming from now. And so, which means it is not only him getting majority of the vote cast, he also need to get. Now, let me read what he also need to get. This is in subsection 1A. This is subsection 1A. It says he has the majority of votes cast at the election, and okay, we now go to subsection 1B. He has not less than 1/4 of the votes cast at the election in each of at least 2/3 of all the states in the federation and the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. So it is very clear that you don't just get only A, you also have to get B, and in B, you don't only get the 25% in 24 states, you also have to get the same 25% in Abuja. So when they said and, you should have known that there is more thing that you need to get. So when they said he has the majority of votes cast at the election, and you should know that there are more. So the more is B. He has not less than 24, whatever. That is where this issue is coming from, because the main issue is around section 134, subsection 1B. So there are other things stated out that you need to get. But the question now is this. Section 134 is clearly talking about how somebody can be elected into the office. But Section 299 is talking about the powers of institutions and establishments across the country. So when you now say you want, because Section 299 said somewhere that Abuja will be treated like every other state, then how do you come and bring it to overshadow where the Constitution is talking clearly about how a person can be elected into the office? So this is my confusion, and I'm trying to understand whether it's me that is not understanding that Section 299 very well, because in Section 299 it says something here. He said the provisions of this constitution, not section. They say the constitution itself. The provisions of this constitution shall apply to the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, as if it were. So are they now trying to tell us that Section 299 is talking about the entire constitution itself and not this particular Section 299 alone? Because I am trying to understand.